life. You've been helping people through nutrition, helping people through exercise, and educating people. You've been doing all that, but now things have totally changed in your life. So tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Okay, well, I have been a health coach for 34 years. In fact, even before then, when I was in my journal, I will be an exercise therapist. I've always just had this desire to be well and to help people be well. So I've dedicated my entire life to doing that. And I've been so blessed to do it in many different ways. So, things were going pretty well. It was pretty awesome in my life, or so I thought, until after 24 years of marriage, my husband came home and said, my commitment to our marriage is,
Wow.
and it rocked my world. I mean, that happens in a moment, and it's a little bit of a slow fade, but that really it was a total shock to me. So I spent a good part of the last 2 years healing like it was my job, because that's what I do. I want to be well. I'm a knowledge person. I want to learn. I want to figure this out. And I did everything that I could think of to do. I was in church. I was going to Bible studies. I was retreats. I did journaling. I went to counseling. I was doing meditation, energy work. You name it, and I tried to do it. Listening to positive messages, going to personal development seminars. And I really was looking for something to help me heal, and I couldn't find one specific thing that was out there. So I kind of had to piece it together myself to go through this grief cycle, because that's really what it is. There's that shock, and then there's, anger, and there's sadness and depression, and a lot of people get stuck in different phases of this grief cycle. And unfortunately, at the time that I got divorced, I had about a dozen friends who were going through the same
Wow.
process. And so it just opened up this whole world that I knew nothing about. And I really became committed to helping my friends, go through this as well as possible and be better than they ever could be, which is what brings me to here. You want me to just tell them what it is?
Well, the biggest thing is, this show is really about what we went through and how we overcome it. And a lot of it is through faith. I know you have a strong faith. That's something we have in common. And we years ago we connected, and you were literally helping people through nutrition and health and wellness. Another thing is that I want to mention is you're a proud mother of two amazing kids. I mean, so that's another thing. You've raised two amazing kids, but more importantly than that, they're both in shape. They're both into fitness. So you've done a phenomenal job as a mother, and you thought you were doing a phenomenal job as a wife, and as well, you do a great job at helping others. But like I always said, I remember having this conversation with you, and that one of the things that I wanted to talk about is those 2 years. Because for me, it was two battles with cancer, and it was those 2 years. And my relationship with God had to be built all over again in those 2 years. And that's one thing that I wanted to ask you, because for me, those 2 years are essential in my story. It's those 2 years that brought me closer to God, that gave me an understanding that we have a purpose in this earth, gave me an understanding that cancer was not going to be my death sentence, but a blessing in my life, and it was going to be revealing my purpose, just like Goliath revealed David's purpose in the Bible. So this revealed a purpose for you, because even though you were doing great things, I just believed after we spoke that just God had just a bigger purpose for you to help so many other people in a bigger platform, right? And that is one thing that I just really connected with you when we spoke, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show and share about those 2 years with people a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I would be happy to. And man, looking back, I think I would have done it so much better. Like, I'm like, oh, I wasted so much time and I cried so much. And I just kept replaying my story and how unfair it was and how unjust it was. And, that was just my process. I tried to get well as quickly as I could, but you can't rush things sometimes.
Yeah.
Knowing what I now know, I think I can help people, do a lot better than I did, but it's just as long as it took. And so, the healing doesn't look like this. It's not just this linear line. You're going along, and all of a sudden something just, knocks you back down. But eventually, you don't fall as hard, you don't fall as long, you don't fall as fast, and it starts, to increase and improve. And one of the times I thought I got over a retreat, I'm like, I'm good. Like, phew, I got peace, I got joy, like I'm good. And then I found out that the weekend I was at the retreat, my ex-husband actually got remarried that weekend. I found out
Wow.
that he was engaged a month after our divorce and quickly remarried. And my daughter didn't even know. And so that just, it set me back like 2 weeks. And I thought, like, wow, I just got out of this retreat. Like, nothing's knocking me down. I'm good. But it just did. Like, that's how long it took me to go, okay. But that was all part of the healing. That helped me to really dive into forgiveness even deeper and not have those bitter roots. It helped me with empathy, something that I think, we all could probably be a little bit better at. I thought I was empathetic before. I thought I was forgiving before, but God was like, no, we're just going to go, the person who you're going to learn the most from is going to be the person that hurt you the most. If you're willing to dive in and really heal. And I was just determined. I remember telling my ex-husband as he was getting ready to move out, I'm going to be well. I'm going to have fun. And he was like, how? Because he always said, you're no fun, you're no fun. I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And so now, for the first time, I feel like I'm just living. Like I was always the, one behind the camera, the responsible one. And now I have just such peace and joy and a whole new perspective on life. But it took these 2 years of really diving in to make it happen.
Well, I'm going to share this with you. I don't really have normally share this with, but it's interesting because I'm listening to you and it just brought back some feelings. When I was going through chemo, my girlfriend left me in the middle of chemotherapy. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, and I was upset and I was, of course, sad. And so it wasn't a marriage of 20 some years, but it was a relationship of somebody that was there with me for a few years when we were at this relationship. And I would say that it was one of those things that God was trying to teach me. And just like I'm listening to you about forgiveness, I had to forgive her in order to battle cancer. There was a bigger battle in my life. There was a bigger purpose in my life. And sometimes God will take those people away just to show you, listen, you're okay. You're not, there's nothing, I needed to take you away from something to show you something better. And that's what I had to learn from that experience. And I'm not saying it's the same thing, and I'm not comparing it. There's no comparison. But it's it's just something that kind of made me feel the same thing that as I'm listening to you, because I think some people might have this experience that they lose somebody either through death or through loss of just a relationship is broken. And after my surgery, we got together a few months later and I told her, I said, I already forgave you. So if that's what you want to tell me, it's over. And to this day, we're friends. And guess what, Kelly? She is exactly doing what God had gave me a vision. It's just, it wasn't with me. It was with someone else. And that's okay. Because now God had just opened me up to do so many other things for the last 13 years of my life. So I know that you're fine, but here's the thing. This is a process, Kelly. We're going to continue to go through this because here's the thing. God continues to teach you things, and those things are for you to share with others, correct?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, really, it does come down to our identity. My identity was in being a wife. That was so important to me, so valuable to me. I mean, I have a best-selling book, Mom and Dadpreneurs. I was all about family, God, family, business, and my identity was in being a mom. Right at the age where my kids were going off to college, and they really didn't need me a whole lot anymore. My identity was in the neighborhood that I lived in, gated community, golf course, all of that. And then, that all went away. And so my identity was where I was in my industry. And really, in these last 2 years, I could barely work. I mean, so many unreasonable things were happening through that season on top of the divorce, just, getting kids situated in car accidents and work changes. And so it was like I didn't know who I am, and it just showed me that all of that is fleeting. All of that is in the world. All of that can go away in a moment, and the only place for our identity to be in is in God. That's the only thing that
Amen.
is guaranteed, that doesn't change. So, regardless of the circumstances, that makes total sense.
Is there a moment that we can share with the audience today that just clicked for you and you said, this too shall pass, and like in my case, it was a moment where just God revealed to me, this is part of your purpose. I needed you to go through this so I can use you in a bigger way. Is there a moment like that in the last few years that happened that you just, this was what happened, and what was it?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a day where it was a holiday weekend, and the holidays were just the hardest for me because we had good times as a family. I mean, every holiday was special. We had company. We went somewhere. We traveled. We did something, and I felt like everyone had moved on but me. As I said, my kids were adults or with their friends. My ex-husbands were married, and I was just sitting there, just crying. And it's not that I didn't have places to go. Friends invited me, but I just felt like a victim. Like, I don't want to bring my victim energy to the lake this weekend. And so I decided to pick up a book on forgiveness. In fact, I have it right here. A friend gave it to me. It's called Forgiving Forward.
I see it. Forgiving Forward.
Forgiving Forward by Dr. Bruce and Tony Hagel. And I just sat and read that book on forgiveness the entire weekend. And the first thing that hit me was, why did Jesus even come? Like, if you're not going to forgive him, what? And that just hit me. And then the next big chapter was forgiving yourself.
Amen.
And that was, I mean, I just cried because I felt like such a failure. I just felt I was just carrying around, I am a failure. The enemy just gets in our head. You're unworthy, you're unlovable, you're failure. And so that was the moment where I just started self-forgiving. And I was able to forgive him and really dig that root of bitterness out. And that was so freeing. That was one of the final pieces where I actually empathized with him, and I actually looked at my responsibility in the marriage and what was my part in it, because I was not perfect, clearly. And I chose him. You have to start with that selection. And I just felt like that was such a big relief and peace. And once you get to the place where you've forgiven, then you're really at the top of that grief cycle where now you can start helping others. And so over this 2 years, I mean, God wired me to be responsible, to be a doer, to be a commander, all these things. And I had so many tears over not working. I mean, anytime I tried to work, it just didn't work. God was like, you owe me. You're going to relax for these 2 years. I'm putting you on sabbatical.
I love
you
that.
work or not. And I fought it. I was like, no. And, he's like, be still. And I kept trying to not be still. But in that time, he was preparing me for what I'm doing now in this next season, which is really specific and strategic to what I've gone through the last 2 years.
So you're writing you're writing a book, or you're just writing a chapter for a book right now in the process?
Well, I haven't been. I did write a chapter of a book that's coming out at the end of this month, September 22nd, called Success Habits of Super Achievers. And there are some amazing, amazing people in that book. I mean, definitely check that out. Success Habits of Super Achievers. You would absolutely recognize all the people in this book. The top people in personal development are in it. But I created a program, and my new brand, so my last brand was Wellness Mompreneur.
Correct.
Now that we're off at college, the new brand is Intentionally Fabulous. Because I want people, we need to be intentional about being fabulous.
Come on.
On a ship just being tossed by the waves and the winds and the storms of life. And it's a course, and this first course is for women going through separation and divorce. And my goal is to take them from fearful to fearlessly pursuing what sets their souls on fire.
Come on.
So, yeah, in these 8 weeks, I'm really revealing to them the most master level, high, top quality content that can, that really helped me the most, and I absolutely believe will help them. And obviously forgiveness is a part of it, but there's 8 specific chapters, and they go one by one by one, getting them eventually to a place of just resurrection and celebration.
Well, the viewer, you don't have to worry, because I'm going to have all of Kelly's links under the description on this show. So don't worry about writing everything down, but you're going to have all the descriptions there. But Kelly, one thing, I mean, there's so much that you talk about that I'm just kind of relating to, because even when I did my TED Talk about surviving your cancer, it wasn't about cancer per se. It was what in your life was like my cancer. And when I'm listening to you, it's just exactly the same kind of thing. It's just another topic that you can just put in and just, instead of cancer, just put your story. And I look forward to actually reading your book when you finally put everything together, because I know the book has multiple, chapters and multiple things that happen. So this is just step one, and then you're going to do the course and you're going to help so many people, and eventually you're going to have to share that full story. So I'm looking forward to that. There is so much, Kelly, about your story that I just feel like can help so many people. This show is really about giving people hope. And I want to ask you, like I ask every guest, what is one word that you can share with the audience today that got you out of bed, that gave you this drive and finally released and say, okay, I'm going to forgive and I'm going to do this. What is one word? And then define that word for the audience, because we all have a different definition for those words. I can have a different definition for hope, like you can, or faith, like you can, or purpose, like you can, or love. What is one word, Kelly, that you can share with us today that can give people hope that are almost hopeless right now because of everything going on in the world?
Yeah, I love that question. So words are so powerful and so important to me. That's why I'm really intentional about them. In fact, I teach about your word for the year, and I've been doing a word of the year for about 11 years. And I've
Come
had
on.
some amazing words, and I use it to set the tone, to be the lens that I look through all year as my barometers, my boundaries for, am I living this word? Am I becoming this word? Is what I'm doing moving me towards this word or away from this word? And so I usually get my word the first week in December for the next year, which is when my birthday is, and I'm really considering the last year or the next year. And I'll always get confirmation that that's my word. The word kind of finds me. And, in the beginning was the
The
word.
word.
The word is important. So my word for 2020 is awaken.
Come
And
on.
at the time that I got the word, I don't always know the fullness of the word when I get it, but it reveals itself. So between Christmas and New Year's, I had a friend who's a massive branding guy. The cool branding guy is actually his brand. And he came to my home and he looked at my vision board. And my word for the year is always on my vision board. So as he's looking at my board, this word awaken just jumps out at him. And we wind up doing an exercise that lasts about 8 hours on this word awaken. And ultimately, the cliff notes on it are that I needed to realize what I needed to awaken from. And for me, that was judgment, control, enabling, unforgiveness, just all this, not being playful, being hyper responsible, just all that I needed the light to turn on me and say, okay, what do you need to leave behind? What do you need to awaken from? And then what do I need to awaken to? So what's this amazing visualization of this incredible future that I'm going to have when I become awakened? When I'm going to be fun and fabulous and super fit and have more faith and have my family connected. And so really dove into that word at the beginning of the year, and it has been a process over the last 8 or 9 months of becoming more awakened. And really it means being present. So it was about getting rid of the past, having amazing vision about the future, but ultimately being awake right now, being present. This day will not happen again. So make the most of it. Use your discernment about what you're supposed to do with your moments. It's the highest possible good to really be tuned in, fully conscious and awake to, all the possibilities to love and have peace and joy and all the things, the gifts of the spirit we're supposed to have.
Come on. Wow. I'm just in awe because there's so many things you're saying, and we could probably have an 8-hour conversation right now. Because listen, everything's about empowerment. At some point, we're here to empower each other and support each other. What a beautiful word, though, and how you defined it so clearly. You literally did the work because you defined it very clearly. And when you talk about awaken and from and to, the first vision that came into my life was I had a great life before going through cancer. I had an amazing life. I was very driven and passionate, and I was a dreamer, and I lived my dreams, and every job I did was exactly what I wanted to do, and I somehow had favor over things. but I wasn't awakened like Kelly's talking about in terms of my purpose. And it took something like cancer and in Kelly's a divorce for us to realize that we have so much more to live. So while you're listening to both of us, I hope you understand that you too have a lot more to live. And sometimes you're complacent or just lazy or just not really looking forward and just looking at what's in front of you. I've never looked at life that way. I've always looked at the future. I've always looked at everything as. And now I am looking at today, like Kelly says, I am looking at the now. And I always say, today is a gift. Open it, unwrap it, and see what's in it. Kelly's talking about being awake to be able to receive and be able to give today, not tomorrow, today. What are you doing today? Are you awakened as you listen to this message? As you listen to Kelly's amazing story? And it's just a little bit. As soon as you get out of this and you actually start looking at who Kelly Calabrese is, you're going to see that there is such an amazing life that she's lived. But I truly believe that she's awakened to live even a better life. The second part of her story is just starting. And I hope that this message really just was received at home and that you understand that you too can be awakened at any moment. Anything can happen. It could be cancer, it could be a divorce, it could be a loss, it could be an illness, it could be anything. But just look towards the future. And like she says, have faith and believe God does have a purpose. Again, Kelly, thank you for joining us today. It's been an amazing pleasure and a blessing. And you blessed so many people today, I hope. And like I always say, find hope, have faith, and live every day with a purpose. God bless you and good night. Charity, how is it going?
Finally, we're doing this. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on your show. What a positive impact you are.
Oh my God. You know, we have such a history. I know this is a small segment, but I'm going to try to pack in as much information because I want people to understand that in life, there's going to be what I call divine appointments. And I always talk about when you show up, God shows off. This is a specific moment in my life where I can truly say charity is a divine appointment. And when I showed up, God showed off. God showed off in an amazing way. We first started with, we just met through a friend of ours that connected us, and Charity had an amazing magazine called Positive Impact Magazine, and she was actually just getting ready to meet me to hire me to host one of her many parties and events here in Miami Beach. At Star Island, I think, right? Wasn't it Star Island?
We were doing a launch party with Michael Capone's group, and it was at a really nice hotel, and the hurricane was hitting, and we still had 350 people show up to that event. It was a launch party at, oh God, what's the name of that hotel?
That's okay. It might still be there, it might still not. I don't know. But
it's definitely
oh,
still
okay.
there, and it's a beautiful, beautiful hotel. And it was supposed to be outdoors, and we had to move it indoors, and it turned out great. I was so happy that we were supposed to have thousands of people, and we still had a good group show up, I think. It's through a hurricane. But,
well,
yeah.
We ended up at Whole Foods, and we sat down to talk. And that conversation, I will never forget that conversation. And we ended up just getting to know each other. A 15-minute meeting took hours, as we were both bawling, we were both in tears. I was sharing my story with Charity. Charity was sharing her story with me, and we were just kind of going over it. And after that, she's like, I need to tell your story. And long and behold, you know, we set up a time. There's one of your ghostwriters or one of your writers, you know, and then the interview almost didn't even take place, but we finally did it. Then the magazine almost didn't get printed, but it finally did.
Yeah.
And here's the fun part about it, and the reason I'm sharing all this with all of you guys is because most of you that do know me because you see me on Steve Harvey. Well, guess what? I don't think I would have been on Steve Harvey if it wasn't for Charity. Why? Because that magazine was the magazine that he read. that article was the article that he read. And because of that, Steve wanted me on the show. So, Charity, when we talk about divine appointment, when we talk about God showing off, when we talk about just believing and supporting and just seeing a bigger vision, that is what you are in my life. So I just wanted to share that with everyone because not this you're the only one. You are part of my journey in such a way for millions of people to get a chance to listen to my God story is because of you. You
Yeah.
showed up, I showed up, and God showed off. So I wanted to share that with the audience because that's how special you are.
Well, I call it God instances, not coincidence, God instances. And we were both crying tears of joy. I mean, you had me in tears, and it was supposed to be like I was so busy that day getting ready for the event, and we ended up being together like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And your story touched me big time, and I believe that you were an angel sent for my life that day. You are one of my earth angels, as you think that I'm your earth angel. I mean, it just we're each other's angels. We're each other's mirrors, and
Amen.
I loved sharing your story with the world. And it was great that my friend that was going to hire Steve Harvey for something took the magazine that of all issues, that issue, and out of all the great stories in there, he loved your story the best and called you and had you on the show. And I love that, and I love your success now, still to this day, being cancer free for a while now.
Yes, 13 years cancer free as of today. Yes, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to Bailey Foster, of course. She's the writer of that article. She's the one that took my story and put her, her amazing gift and amazing talent and sharing it in Positive Impact Magazine, of course, for you.
Yeah.
So shout out to her because she did an amazing job on telling my story. Everyone has their own way of doing it, but she certainly is a gift, absolute gift.
We are so blessed with all of our writers, and actually she's on her third baby. She's going to write for us some more, so
Yes.
stay tuned for more writing from Bailey Foster. I love her. She's adorable.
So, Positive Impact Magazine, how did that start? What was the
So I,
vision at the beginning for you?
so I had my own accident where I was laid up and watched TV for the first time in a long time, and I couldn't believe everything on TV was negative except for the home improvement or the cooking shows. And I racked my brain trying to think, why do people want to give attention to this stuff? And my opinion, what I came up with was that people wanted to feel better about themselves by looking at something bad, like Tiger Woods. He slept with millions of women, and I only told one little white lie, or whatever the situation is on TV or the news or whatever show, which to me made me feel worse, and I couldn't sleep at night. And the angels knocked on my, said, "Come on, wake up, here we go." And because of my background as being a photographer with magazines, I called up my childhood best friend who's a graphic artist, and we threw up a website, and it just went from there. And we did a fundraise campaign. And when things flow so easily, they're meant to be. When they come to you like that, it's inspiration from God.
Amen.
And I follow my inspiration now. I'm divinely guided. I let my soul lead the life, my higher self. Thank you, God, for everything and all the people that come in to our lives, and like you, sharing your story, your amazing story, because you were like left to be dead by a lot of people. They
Yeah.
just turned their back on you, and God didn't. So
No, God didn't, and I kept, after going through my first battle, I truly believe I was going to survive, even though I was already on morphine to die. So, but yet I still believed God was going to heal me. I just didn't know how. But that magazine has so many amazing articles. I mean, when we first started talking about it, one of your biggest impacts, I think, was the covers. And you had, people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Angelina Jolie and Matt Damon. You had all these amazing, amazing people that were doing so much for the world that people don't know about. A lot of people don't know that these people have passions and they have other things that this is their purpose about clean water or children or in other countries and things like that. and you were telling those stories. That's why people opened up Positive Impact Magazine, is because you were telling the stories of people, of famous people that maybe nobody even knew about, or most people don't know about, because that's not what they talk about. They want to know about the next movie or the next album or the next project, but nobody wants to know about what they're doing in charity work, right? And that's why I love her name. Charity is, and that's what I always tied in the magazine. A lot of the people's stories were about charity, people that were doing great things for community, and for global. And now Positive Impact Global is an amazing, amazing page on Facebook, and we actually stream our show on Positive Impact Global. I think over 20,000 people are on that group that get a chance to watch it. But I would say this. Again, people wanted that magazine for the famous people. And somewhere in there, I'm next to Angelina Jolie in the magazine. And there is this story of a guy that nobody knew, but yet like Cherry says, that's the story that ended up in Steve Harvey's desk. And then he ends up getting it, and I end up on his show. And what that did for me is strengthen my faith, because, again, I meet someone that I never knew. We meet for coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I think you drank coffee that day. But we just
we were having lunch.
we were having lunch,
a quick bite at Whole Foods.
and it turned
Healthy.
healthy food at Whole Foods,
Not being healthy right now.
and it turned out to be, a moment in my life that confirmed so much for me, and it also confirmed so much for charity, because it's not always about the famous people, but yet it's about the stories, and it's about how we make an impact in the world. And charity has been doing that for many, many years. I mean, you think about this. This was what, 6, 7 years ago, or 8 years ago. No, about 7, 8 years ago when we did the magazine. But yet, still, this has been forever. I love that magazine, and I share it, through social media.
Well, I took a break for a few years and opened a yoga wellness studio and a center, pranic healing, energy healing, and salt cave and far infrared heat, and people kept it alive, breathing. So we just relaunched as Positive Impact Global. Positive Impact Life is
Amen.
Where all the names for Positive. You can still find us positiveImpactGlobal.com, positiveImpactLife.com, and positiveImpactMagazine.com. You can find us in all those, and we're doing a lot more. I'm even more excited this time with the relaunch because of all the workshops that we're going to be doing. You and I are going to be doing some workshops. There's a lot of amazing stories, new ones, old ones. You can find them all there. And people, just the average Joe, doing amazing things in their communities and their lives. And one person doing one kind act has a ripple effect every time.
Absolutely. And I have to share this with everybody too, because we have such a great connection. Like, we can talk for hours, like, as you know, but we ended up, I was doing my women's seminars. I have a women's conference, My Purpose 2020, and Charity came last year to the seminar. She surprised me. She brought her girlfriends over, and we had a chance to share the story with all these women. And what an event! And what did you feel, being there?
Well, I was very impressed by the coaching that you're doing, especially for women. I loved your connection. I loved seeing your connection with all these women there. And I think one of my friends ended up hiring you. I'm not sure, but
It's private. I can't say.
It was really great to be a part of that and see you in action on stage and connecting with all these women. It was just great. And then I liked your thing afterwards where you had a breakout session.
Yes, the breakthrough sessions.
Really helpful.
Masterminds, yes.
Yeah, masterminds.
Yes. No, we have to do our own. We have to get together and do our own charity, and bring a group of women that are maybe already where they need to be, and then just kind of a breakout for them in terms of spirituality and everything else. But for sure, I feel always so honored when you show up, because I know something amazing is going to happen. and you just have an amazing light. There's certain people that just walk in a room and they just have it. They just have that it factor, you wouldn't call it, or they have a light around them, or a light that shines through them, and they just grab attention. And of course, having a women empowerment seminar is always about hopefully connecting those women and them having to share their story. And the fact that you were there and you were able to share so many other stories, it was just such a, it was even more of a highlight to my conference. So for me, it was just it's a blessing to have you there, and I look forward to doing so much with you. And you always have me at hello. You always just have to ask me, and I'm there. So how is the West Coast treating you? Good.
Thank you, David. Thank you for that compliment, and thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm just a mirror of you. You
Oh,
have the same spark, the light that brightens up
amen.
the whole room.
Well,
So thank
listen,
you.
you have to, if you haven't joined, go to Positive Impact Global, because there's charities doing a lot of different interviews with a lot of this amazing, amazing people. Some are celebrities, some are just people that are just trying to touch somebody in the world and impact them, right? And also, I want to make sure that you guys understand something. This show is about life changers. I don't know a lot more people that can be more life changing than Charity, at least for me in my life. You know, she's one of those people that I have to write about in my book, and I have to talk about in my documentary, because she's part of that journey. Some of us have those people that really touch us and impact us in such a way that we know they're divine. We know that, because not everybody has that empathy, or not everybody has that spirit to help and to share and to support one another. And Charity has always been that. She has that amazing, amazing just humbleness about her, that she's just always about giving and always about service. So I want to make sure you guys, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure take the time to get to know her, what she does, and support whatever she does, because she is really supportive of me and a lot of other people as I've known her. So one of the things about this show, Charity, is I love to end the show with one word. I love to ask every guest to give me one word. I know we have a lot of words. You know me, my message is 3 words. So, but one word that you can share with us. But here's the big thing, is define that word, is give it a meaning. What does it mean to you? How is that word special to you specifically? So that's what I want to. So one word that you can
Okay.
share with us. And the word is to give hope to everyone that's listening, especially today. There's so many people that are hopeless, so many people that are just, they don't want to get out of bed right now. They don't know what to do. Everything is negative around them, right? And so you're really good at this, and you've already gone through so much in your life that I know how you have gone up every single time. So what is one word you can give us and define
So,
it for us?
so my one word is love. And it's because love to me is God. My name means love. The true meaning of charity is love. My purpose in life is that people live and experience unconditional love. And just love says it all to me. Love is part of everything. It's the highest vibration you can have in your beingness. To me, anyway, love is the most important thing. And love, what did John Lennon say? His famous line.
Oh my God,
Love is all you need.
that's
Love
all
is
we
all
need.
you need. And that's it. My,
Amen.
I hope that touches somebody out there. I
Well,
love you. I
I
love
love
and
you
appreciate
too.
you infinity.
I love you too. And I want to thank Charity, of course, for the time today, for coming on in a special segment. But I also want to thank her for her word love. Love to me has such a big impact in my life. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God's love. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the love that I accepted from many people. One thing about my life is I've always been that giver. I was taught to give before receiving. I was taught to always service people. I was always taught to share with people and teach people how to do what they needed to do before I asked them to do it. I did it myself. And that was a lesson from my parents. That was their love. Their love was unconditionally, no matter what, and their support. But again, to take that love and support other people, to take that love and accept it is the hardest thing for me. And I had to when I went through cancer. I had to learn how to accept love from many people, even the people that weren't really close to me. So as Charity shares that word of love, you don't have to be always in a relationship with someone to love one another. You just have to show love to everyone around you. And you'll never know how that will change your life. Remember, not all of us have relationships. Not all of us have people that care about us. Not all of us have an amazing group of friends on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. But that smile that you can give to somebody, that look you can give to somebody, that love and affection you can give to somebody that maybe never receives it, can change their life forever. I want to thank Charity again for her amazing word, love, her friendship, and her support always. And again, I never leave without saying my message: find hope, have faith, and live every day with a purpose. God bless you guys.